So last night we unlocked the last bit of the story for the Summer 6 event on NA, and with it the 90 plus free quest. Now, why is this worth mentioning? Because in a way, the Summer 6 event is something of a pseudo-lotto event. If you've been playing through the event, then you likely picked up on this already, what with the chest drops that give you all sorts of materials. But with the full release of the story, the 90 plus node, and 2 weeks left for the event, it looks like it's farming time. So the 90 plus node is the best node for farming, as is typical, unless you are going for very specific shop currencies to the exclusion of others, and if you have the gacha CEs to give bonus drops of those currencies. But if you are just trying to clear the shop, and can clear the 90 plus node, then you might as well just do the 90 plus until you have enough of all the currencies to buy everything. So the real question is, how do you make the most of this as a lotto? The answer is the Sink Deeper Craft Essence. Each one gives you a 20% extra drop chance for chests, with it going up to 50% when you max limit break it. Now, I don't know if the bonus drop chance can go over 100%, but I'm just going to assume that it might, and go from there. With that said, if you have an interest in getting people to use your support lists, like I do, then MLBing it might be a good idea. Now, where do you get the Sink Deeper CE from? Well, you get copies of it from the Treasure Points rewards, with your 5th and final copy arriving at 40,000 points. Since you need 38,000 points in order to unlock the last of the story quests for the event, getting this shouldn't take very long. You can also get more of the CE from drops, both from the 90 plus node and others, but drop chances being what they are, you might not be best to rely on that too much. Another CE worthy of note is the damage CE for the event, Ocean Flyer. This boosts arts cards, MP damage, has a starting charge of 30%, and a 100% damage bonus for the event. Those go up to 50% starting charge and a 200% damage bonus once you max limit break it. Like the Sink Deeper CE, you get copies of this from the Treasure Points rewards, as well as potentially getting more from drops. You'll get your 5th copy of this CE at 70,000 points. So, what does the 90 plus node look like? Well, it is 3 waves of Lancers with a 3-1-3 setup. That is, 3 enemies on wave 1, 1 enemy on wave 2, and 3 enemies on wave 3. This unfortunately makes it a bit annoying for non-buster loopers, though it is still very possible to do. As for CE choices, you can, of course, use whatever CE you like for your main attacker. But for the purposes of this video, I am going to try to stick to the 2 event CEs, Sink Deeper and Ocean Flyer, with Ocean Flyer going on the main DPS. For support choices, I'm being greedy and only choosing ones that have the max limit broken Sink Deeper CE. There are not many of them on my support list now, but I'm sure more will appear as people finish the story, get to 40,000 points, max limit break it, and add it to their support lists. I suppose you don't have to only pick max limit broken ones, but extra drop chances for the chests is what we are after here. Now, for a few example teams you can use for doing this. First, we're going to do Buster teams. Why? Because it's the newest system, it's the easiest, and Koyanskaya has a 20% bond bonus from the event. Now for the moment, I am assuming you do not have Ocean Flyer max limit broken yet, since you either need to have been very lucky, or to have farmed an additional 32,000 points from what you needed for the main story. So with that in mind, what can you use for this? Well, if you are someone who has a 50% charging Buster Servant and maxed out their mana loading a pen skill, then not having Ocean Flyer max limit broken really isn't a problem. Ibuki Doji is probably already doing great work for you, and she's who I would pick for this node. However, since I don't have Ibuki Doji, much less maxing out her mana loading, I can't show that off. What I can do, however, is bring out some other Buster Servants who don't care very much about starting charge, but who do very much like that damage bonus on Ocean Flyer. My immediate go-to was Melusine, since she loops with Black Grail and hits ridiculously hard. But since my Melusine is Grailed and Gold Foed, neutral looping is something she can do with little trouble. Another potential and more accessible option is that of Kucaster. Now, on the one hand, the Ocean Flyer CE having a starting charge actually allows you to ditch having Oberon, just use 2 Koyanskayas, and so allows you to use a mystic code other than Plug Suit and get bond levels for different servants. On the other hand, even my Kucaster, who's MP5, struggled a bit with the solo enemy on Wave 2. You might need to bring either a mystic code that can give him a boost to his damage for Wave 2, or just bring Oberon anyway, swap him in on Wave 2 in exchange for the Koyanskaya's charge skill you used on Wave 1, and then use Oberon's first skill to give Kucaster a bit of extra MP damage. Another option, which is the one I used, is to use both Koyanskaya's second skills on turn 2, so get a ton of stars that way and allow you to crit down the enemy with cards, in case Kucaster's MP isn't quite enough, and it probably won't be quite enough. Moving on to arts, unfortunately this is going to mean having to plug suit in a second attacker. The sad truth is that you just don't get enough refund from a single enemy in a wave in order to get enough MP charge for turn 3. But if you have that other attacker, then your AoE Arts Servant can handle waves 1 and 3 just fine. Since we're up against Lancers, I brought Muramasa out to play. He has no problem whatsoever with waves 1 and 3, but who to bring for wave 2? I went with two potential options here. The first, and my personal preference, is Saber Hokusai, the welfare unit from Summer 4. Like the other Summer Servants, she gets a 30% damage bonus from the event, which can help give that extra hedge. Also, she hits really, really hard, even without that bonus. To do this setup, I gave Muramasa the Ocean Flyer CE, then dug up a different 50% CE for Saber Hokusai. If you have Ocean Flyer max limit broken, then feel free to give that to Saber Hokusai. As I said earlier, I am assuming for the moment that you do not have an MLB Ocean Flyer CE. I actually ended up using the Painting Summer CE from Summer 3. It has a starting 50% charge, boosts art performance, and Hokusai is on the CE, so that seemed kind of fitting. Anyway, on Wave 2, use one of the Castoria's first skill to recharge Muramasa. Swap that Castoria out for Saber Hokusai. Then use the other Castoria's first skill to give Hokusai 30% charge. Then using Hokusai's 20% charge, it's 20% at level 10, you have your 100% use her MP to delete the Wave 2 enemy. Now, if you do not have Saber Hokusai, that's okay. Another option is Saber Lancelot. He has the benefit of having his charge be a base 30% regardless of what level the skill is, but he also does less damage than Saber Hokusai. But also, since I'm not actually giving either Saber Hokusai or Saber Lancelot Castoria's arts buffs, those went to Muramasa, you actually could just use some other attacker of your choice, so long as you can make sure that they can get 100% MP charge on turn 2, and to have their MP kill the enemy here. Someone like Kintoki, or maybe even Sanzang, whatever combination of Servant and CE you have access to. Find something that works for you. Lastly, there's Quick. Now, Quick isn't as good as either Arts or Buster, but I thought it would be remiss if I made this video and didn't at least try to have a Quick Looper. If I had the new Servant, Summer Okita Alter, then that's who I would use for this. I don't actually know how good she is at looping, but if she can do it, then she's pretty much perfect for this thanks to class advantage. As for me, I dusted off Dantes and Double Scotty. Since Dantes was a costume servant back in Summer 3, he also has a 30% damage buff from the event. The downsides are is that I need to give him an MLB K-Scope for Wave 1, and I also had to card on Wave 3 to finish off the Servant enemy. It's not ideal, but my Dantes is also MP1, so if you have higher than that, you might be able to pull it off cleaner than I did. As for Wave 2, I did the same thing I did with the art setup and brought out Saber Hokusai. As before, if you don't have Saber Hokusai, just pick someone else with a CE that you do have that allows you to deal with Wave 2. I did also try to do this with Karen, but, well, that was a fail. Ugh. It's been more than 6 months now. I'm still hating myself for that impulse roll I did. It could have cost me Oberon if I hadn't gotten so lucky with the rolls for him and Koyanskaya. Anyway, enough of that. So those are the possible teams for all three card types, at least for what I personally have access to, and so can demonstrate. No doubt there are other farming teams with other servants that could work, and perhaps work better than what I have done here. These are just some examples to get you started. Now, once you get a max limit broken Ocean Flyer CE, your options expand considerably. For one, it becomes a 50% starting charge CE, which opens the door for a whole host of Buster Loopers, Artoria, Mordred, Morgan, etc., etc. For my purpose, I chose the OG Saber, since it has been a while since I used her, and I thought it would be cool. But also, max limit breaking the Ocean Flyer CE also boosts the event damage bonus from 100 to 200%. At that point, you can make just about anybody work. Hell, for a goof, I decided to try it with Gilgamesh, despite him having class disadvantage, just to see if I could. And, well, he pulled it off. Okay, he did need cards for the Wave 2 enemy, but if a class disadvantaged servant could still do this, then neutral looping should be no problem at all. Melusine, Kucaster, whoever you might have that Combustor loop should work. It will certainly help with whatever other teams you may be using as well. So there you have it. That's the Summer 6 pseudo-lotto and a few ways you can farm it. I do hope that you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.